Welcome to the audiobook of My Infinite Perspective. I am the author, Brandon Nicholas Moore. Thought 1. Intro. I think, therefore I am. I remember hearing this quote as a younger person and not thinking anything of it. Time does as it always has, and I paid no mind until the pandemic started at the end of 2019. I was a junior in college, and the sudden awareness of time was baffling to me. I didn't have anywhere to go, and I was only 21, so I had my whole life ahead of me. So why did I suddenly feel the pressure of time when it seemed I had so much of it? Now that I'm writing it out, I see that the answer is synonymous with the question. But back then, the pressure of time caused me to lose all the momentum I built up in life until I became stagnant. Once I realized how stagnant my life had become, I fell into what I think was depression. When I reached the deepest end of my depression, everything became clear. The original title of this book was going to be Thoughts of a Modern Human. When I started writing this book, I was under the impression that lots of people do, and eventually everyone will end up thinking like me. But the more I wrote, the more I discussed with people, I realized that within infinity, anything can happen, and anyone can do, be, or think anything. So I was being some sort of overbearing with the title that describes people who aren't me. I then decided that the title should embody what I spend my days thinking about. My infinite perspective. Probably won't do the pages on the left side next time. It's kind of ugly. I guess I did for the cheapness, but it's ugly. Thought number 2. The infinite perspective. Perspectives are an interesting thing. Honestly, it's probably the most powerful thing in the universe, really. From a human perspective, a cloud is just a floating pile of mist that brings us shade and rain. But from the cloud's perspective, it's a million-pound beast being tamed by forces of nature to nurture the land instead of doing what it wants. Clouds don't have consciousnesses, but if they did, they would tell you if it wasn't for specific laws of physics, they would goompa stop the planet every time they are formed. If you look at clouds from a god's perspective, things get interesting. What is a god? Christians would tell you that God is the creator of the universe. Ancient Greeks believed gods were just beings with powers over the laws of nature, and they had greater beings with more universally innate powers. To me, a god is someone who chases infinity. I was raised a Christian, so their God is the one I have the most problems with. The Christian God seems infinitely powerful from a human's perspective, because we are in his infinite universe. If you look at the Christian God from an infinite perspective, you will notice that his book only speaks of his infinity, but never mentions the infinity that he exists in. After I noticed that, I was annoyed at the Christian God, because if he was real, that also means he did not leave us a path towards true infinity, and we can only play around in the infinity that he created. I would be fine with that if there weren't so many infinities within his infinity, but with my newfound perspective came a sense of unrest. My new perspective can't change the infinity I reside in, but it does allow me to realize that I'm being controlled in a way I don't wish to be controlled. Within this reality, free will is almost an illusion. We can do what we want within the rules, but because there are rules, things can be determined. Therefore, whatever God made the rules of this infinity can know how it plays out. If everything was bound to happen, was it really free will? Of course it is silly. It's just limited free will. This new perspective of mine makes me want to become a god of my own infinity. From a god's perspective, the cloud and I are what we are because the rules made us so. But from an infinite perspective, a cloud and I could be anything, everything, and nothing all at once. That's pretty interesting. For the first chapter, I feel like I probably could have thrown some more meat in there. Probably could have expound on I probably did it later in the book. We'll see. I think, therefore I am. I believe this phrase was meant to affirm the existence of oneself, but to me it means even more. It's the reason I only feel negative emotions when I want to, and why I feel like I could change the world with a book. When I was in the deepest part of my depression, I heard that quote, and it held a new meaning. As a man who felt like he had nothing, I realized that as long as I can think of a way to get something. While pondering the quote, I had a sort of an eco-death. I disassociated with everything that wasn't my ever questioning mind. I then decided that since I was just a bunch of thoughts and memories, I get to decide who I am. Every day since, I've been questioning everything about myself, from my personality to my skills and my body. In order to fix a problem, you need to change, and the only thing in the world you could change in an instant is your mind. So in order to fix problems, you must first start with your mind. At first, I only changed my mind about direct problems like getting a job and getting in shape. But then I realized that it was only the beginning because just like depression and love, there are plenty of things that I do because I've always done them and think things because I've always thought them. I started with my eating habits after realizing that I only eat the way I do because I've always eaten like this and not because my body needs the nutrients. I went from 340 pounds to 250 pounds. When I first stopped eating 3 meals a day, I thought maybe I was starving myself. Then I remembered that food is energy, and I know what it feels like to be low on energy because one time I went on a juice cleanse for a week and went to football practice, and that was the one time I genuinely felt like I had zero energy in my body. Then I thought, what if humans aren't supposed to eat every day, and we just do it because we can? And then I found out about ketosis. I haven't experienced myself, and if I do before I finish the book, then you won't see this part. But apparently after 3 to 5 days of not eating, you no longer get hungry. You have a lot of energy, and your mind is really clear. After finding out about that, I no longer had hang-ups about eating less and not eating at all. I then questioned how I react to things. In the past, reactions were all about what came to mind. My reactions did not cause any major problems, so I never thought about them much before. But with my expanding ability to think, I realized that every interaction in the world should be used to achieve my goals. Since then, instead of reacting with what I thought first, I started reacting with what would give me the outcome I most wanted. I, in fact, did not ever try ketosis. I just don't got a steady schedule like that. I'd be bored and then hungry. Once I get busy, I don't even think about food.